Dear all, welcome to Tech Emea, the 4-day today. We have such great panel today to speak with you guys. So we have here new James from ReviewPro, Erik Tengen from Alexandre Losada, Felix Said from myHotel, Neha Girona from ReviewPro, Chris Alexandre from GuestRevu, Amit Rahav from HyperGuest, and myself, Vinicius Ronaldo from Travel Tech in HS London. Be everybody welcome to the session. Today we're gonna discuss automation. I'm gonna tell you the entire automations versus human touch, the impact on operations and customer experience. So be tuned, pay attention. We're gonna have an outstanding panel today with outstanding professionals, and thank you to all of you to make part of this big project. For those persons that's the first time watching Travel Tech, this is the forum we did this year. So we start with the first one that was Travel Tech Brazil, Portugal. After that, we did Travel Tech Asia Pacific. Then we did Travel Tech Latin Spanish speakers and Spain. And we finished this year with Travel Tech Emea, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Travel Tech has been created because Federico and I, we are the founder of this event. We saw and we understood that the issues that hoteliers have on a daily basis is the same. Doesn't matter where in the globe you are. So if you're from Malaysia, Australia, Japan, England, Africa, America, you have always the same problems. So we created this to bring knowledge to the market, to bring to light and help you guys to understand how is the better way to get revenue, to get your operations, to use your digital marketing on the best way and not spend your money without results. So be welcome. Next year, we're going to have 5 events. We're going to start next year in March with US, Canada. Then we're going to go Brazil and Portugal, Asia Pacific, Latin Spanish speakers in Spain, and then we're going to finish the year with EMEA again. But the difference, Travel Tech will improve. We'll keep the forums, but the next year we will be also the first global online fair where hoteliers, without spend a penny, will be able to access and get in touch with all the companies that will be there to have one-to-one presentations. So keep tuned, follow us on Travel Tech LinkedIn. That's where we provide all the press release and all information about what we are doing. Okay. And I would like to thank you all our sponsors. That is Ideas, Libra, HS Latin, Ask Suite, Book Right Now, myHotel that give us the platform to use here. And for all media sponsors, that is Travel Daily Media, Revenue Hub, and Funnel TV. And don't lose it, the 1st of December, Funnel TV is creating one of the biggest events where you'll be able to check with Neil James and know the professionals in more than 40 companies and different tech companies that will show what they have a solution. So don't lose it. Here we explain about knowledge, there you're gonna have a sales. So welcome to Travel Tech. Welcome everybody. I would like to present you. So Neha Girona from ReviewPro, our moderator. You have 3 minutes to present yourself and be welcome. I'm very glad to have you sharing the panel again with myself. Welcome, Neha.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinny. Really glad to be here and to be representing ReviewPro on this panel. Hello, everyone. So I'll just give a very short, quick introduction. I head up the marketing for ReviewPro Rate Tiger, and I have been with the company for over 12 years now. It has been a great experience to see how hotel technology has been evolving over the last few years, especially over the last 2-3 years, and how hotels have been moving towards automation and self-service technology. So of course this transition has been accelerated by the current scenario with COVID, as customers around the world, they're expecting more of contactless experience throughout their stay. And this is the time when we as industry need to come together and find ways of how we can bring travel back, how we can get hotels back to where they were. And ReviewPro, of course, continues to provide solutions to hotels through its Rate Tiger suite of products, whether it be channel management, CRS, we continue to develop innovative solutions, booking engine, website development, all under one platform, and looking forward to providing hoteliers with solution to make every day simple and easy. And thank you again for having me on the panel, and look forward to this interesting discussion today. Thank you. Back to you, Vinny.
Vinny, sorry, you're not being heard. Vinny, you're not being heard.
Can't hear you, Vinny.
We're a live show, guys. Make mistakes. Don't worry, that happens. Alexandre, it's your turn. A best friend, a good friend of mine, an outstanding professional with a background, an impressive background from Booking.com, Declar, Rate Game. Whoa, it's welcome. It's very glad to have you here with me again.
I don't need 3 minutes, so I'm not that important. But I'm gonna say I've been in the industry for about 19 years. As you mentioned, with Booking.com, with Despegar, doing those global and regional roles. As of late, dedicated fully to tech and SaaS. I'm a tech freak, so today is my day. I want to listen to all of these people talk about automation and cool things coming our way. And currently, I'm advising for tech startups and mentoring some entrepreneurs here in the city of Barcelona. So thank you very much for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to an amazing session, and the floor is yours, Vinny.
Awesome. Thank you very much to be here. So we're going to start now. They will present our speakers. For all the people that is attending now and listen to us, please don't forget, on the right side of the screen, you have asks. You have the option to make questions. So please set all your questions, because you're going to have the option to interact with our special speakers today, and you can make direct questions. So don't lose such opportunity. You don't have such opportunity every day. It's not every day that you can send or do a question directly to Felix, to Neil, Erik, Amit, Chris, Alejandro, or Nika. So perfect. This is a special day. So Nika, all yours. You start.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinny. So glad to invite Amit Rahav, CRO and co-founder at HyperGuest. Personal and company presentation, please. All yours, Amit. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you very much, Neha. Thank you, Vinicius, and welcome to all our attendees today. I think sure it's going to be excited, and I join Alejandro. I'm also that same geek, and I'm passionate about how technology meets hospitality. So I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. So we're a young company, but we're not young in the hotel space. The founders, I'm a co-founder and head of a business for HyperGuest. In the past 3 years, we have been in the hotel distribution space, having previously built companies in areas of bed banks, agency solutions, hotel solutions, and so on. And we've always been had the dream to actually take that engagement to the next level. So how can technology do a much better work and eliminate many of the problems that exist there, especially when you want to work and bring in customer, welcome them through B2B relationship, and be very innovative as a hotelier and move very fast and establish relationship very quickly and do business at higher margins and so on and so forth. So at the beginning of the year, we founded HyperGuest. And what it is about is a marketplace. It turns the whole idea of B2B relationship in this space into a marketplace of distribution, plugging straight into. Very happy to be working with Rahav Max, as well as a broad range of other channel managers. Obviously, Red Tiger, one of the top products in the market in that category. But turning that whole process of meeting business associates, business partners that actually sell your product into a very modern approach, like a marketplace. When the time comes to sell this phone here that I have, I'll just put it on eBay, and I don't have to go and contract buyers from all over the world. I just say, this is my price, this is my product, this is my terms, welcome buyers, and then I can take it from there. Similarly, we're creating distribution into a marketplace, goes straight into the hotel system, very, very efficient, very lean model, very sustainable, very important for this day and age, we believe, and also very important as a way for a quick innovation on behalf of hotelier in deploying new ideas and getting into new kinds of customers. So excited to be talking to you today about automation.
Great, thank you so much, Amit. Alejandro, over to you, please.
So I would say that next person needs very little introduction, but I'm gonna leave it to Neil to take us from here. So Neil, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Neil James. I'm the COO at ReviewPro. I'm actually a hotelier by trade. I fell into technology by accident, been spending the last almost 20 years trying to get back out and have not been able to. So it's a pleasure to be here on this panel with everyone. Specifically, an honor to be here with one of the people who put it together, Vinicius, who I had the pleasure to work with many years ago in the hospitality technology area. So it's great to be here. So a little bit about ReviewPro. We've spent the last decade dedicating ourselves to helping hoteliers and accommodation providers understand and improve the guest experience at their properties. How exactly? Well, we provide the tools and solutions needed to monitor, measure, and act upon guest feedback at all stages of the guest journey. This means that from the looking to the booking phase, and of course, talking about pre-stay, in-stay, and post-stay communication, we're empowering hoteliers with the guest feedback management so that they can create great guest experiences every time, and obviously achieve the one thing that as hoteliers we all want, more bookings and greater revenue. Our own journey as well has been driven by the evolving needs of the hospitality industry and alongside key clients. From online reputation management to our latest AI-driven guest messaging and chatbot solution, our products have always been developed to meet the challenges of the current market and support our clients, who are obviously the hoteliers, support their clients, the guests. We currently provide solutions to over 60,000 clients in 150 countries worldwide. We sit within the offering of the Shiji Group, which is a global company offering solutions for the hotel, retail, food service, and entertainment industries. Today, we find ourselves in a global situation where guest feedback management is as vital as ever, and guest experience is the new currency. So as hospitality returns, which it will, we're as excited as ever to be able to support both our existing and new clients with the right technological solutions to continue the journey together. I'm looking forward to this great panel with some amazing speakers. So looking forward to getting it going. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Welcome, Neil. It's a pleasure to have you here.
And I think now we can open the floor for Felix to introduce himself. Felix, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here connecting. I'm CEO and co-founder of myHotel. Basically, I previously worked with developing AI models for the banking and the retail industry. And myHotel is my second startup. We fell in love with the hospitality industry, and we're working on automatizing every process involved in assessing guest experience, so hoteliers can free time to really engage with the guests. We have developed a guest experience platform that measures and processes consumer feedback at any channel and at every stage, pre, during, and post-stay. And currently, we're working with 1,000 hotels in 22 countries. Thank you.
That sounds awesome. And I'll leave Neha now to present our other two speakers of the day. Neha?
Thank you, Alejandro. Welcome, Felix. Welcome, Neil. And next up is Chris Alexander, founder and CEO for GuestRevu. Chris, please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Neha, and thank you, Vinny. I just firstly want to say thanks to both of you and the team that's clearly behind all of this for hosting the panel, and Travel Tech. I think this is great. Really good, especially in times like this at the moment when hoteliers are compelled to be adapting and innovating quickly just in order to survive and thrive. As I said, I am Chris Alexander. I am the CEO and founder of GuestRevu. I've been in the tech industry for the last 25 years or so, and like so many others, kind of happened into the hospitality area, and have been working in that for the last 10 years and really loving what we're doing. It doesn't even feel like a job anymore. It feels like a hobby. GuestRevu, I think, similar to ReviewPro and similar to the others here, provides a comprehensive and affordable solution for hotels aimed at monitoring and analyzing guest satisfaction and to manage that online reputation. There are essentially two parts to what we do. The first is the direct guest feedback solution that automatically sends out surveys to guests after they check out, or prior to getting there in terms of pre-stay and in-stay. Our clients can also give their guests access to surveys via QR codes or via links if they prefer. But we take all of that feedback and that's collected from those surveys, and analyze and present them back in an easy to read set of dashboards and reports. We're integrated with many and most of the world's leading PMS solutions across the world, and the whole system is completely automated from beginning to end. The second element of it is focused on the online reputation management, where we automatically collect all the online reviews from all the major public platforms, such as TripAdvisor and Booking and Google and so many more. And we pull all of that data into a consolidated, easy-to-use dashboard with multiple reporting options. Alongside all of this, there are a whole host of additional functionality and features like sentiment analysis and real-time notifications, management response reporting, leaderboards, trending, all of which are just designed to provide maximum value and insight to all the clients and help them to accurately monitor and measure their reputation. For me, which is the part that I love the most, is compiled from real time from those people who we're beginning to really understand are the ones that matter the most in this industry, and those are the guests. So I could go on and on about a lot more, but I hope that gives you a good overview of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Welcome on board. Welcome.
Thank you.
And our final speaker today, of course, is Erik Tengen, co-founder Oki. Erik, let me start by first congratulating you for the Skift Award. Many congratulations from all of us here. And please go ahead and introduce yourself and the company, please.
Yeah, we were super happy, very, very proud. We were just sharing before the call that I was always Skift. I was reading on the bus or the tram, or maybe sometimes when you bike in Holland, you also read on your phone. Do everything on your bike over here. Now, welcome everybody to Amsterdam. My name is Erik, proud co-founder of Oki. We're an upselling solution. My background, some people, Neil went into your background slightly. I have a little bit of a different background. I used to be a professional poker player for a lot of years and a DJ. Wow. So that was before I really fell in love with hospitality and started my education at hotel school, The Hague. And after a quick roundabout to Gleneagles, because I'm a big golfer, and then eventually Kuala Lumpur, I landed here in Amsterdam. And all of my family members are entrepreneurs. So there was no question about that I was going to start an own business, but Oki became that company, and time flies. I can remember one of the first meetings we had with another company was with Chris, Alexandre. So it's funny that we are on the same call again. Lines are connected. Really, really, really nice to be here with you all. Quickly about Oki. What we basically do is we help hotels to basically try and present the right type of upsell in terms of room upgrade, experience, ancillary service to the many different types of guests that you have at the right moment across the guest journey, and preferably at the optimal price. And there's a lot of creativity and a lot of fun that goes into that process, but also a lot of partnerships that we see, especially coming out of COVID, which is fascinating, how a pandemic and a crisis is pulling a lot of tech providers together to create something that the industry has never seen before. So it makes it a truly fascinating time to be a hotel tech entrepreneur, and very, very happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So I think we present everybody. Before we start the first round of questions, I will repeat myself again. For the public and attendance, please don't forget that you have the option to set your questions like this. We can, at the end of the second round, to interact with our speakers. So please, we're looking forward for your questions, and anything you need during the session, please also you can reach me through the chat box. So I'll leave now. Niha will start this first round of questions and interactions. Please, Niha, go ahead. And another time, thank you all to be here with us. I'm really happy. Not glad, that's a small word. I'm really happy to have all of you as such great panel. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Great. So let's start today's session with our friend Felix. So Felix was mentioning how, you know, myHotel and ReviewPro have been working together. So let me start with you, Felix, today. We know we're talking about automation, operation, human touch. So very simple question for you. What do you think is the right balance between automation and human touch when it comes to hospitality?
Thank you, Niha. Many service interactions are still emotionally based, so there is always some need for human interaction. Even though we would love to save a lot of time and cost automatizing every interaction, we yet don't trust machines for complex tasks. AI is still not able to pick up some emotional cues, for example, that those cues generate real brand engagement. We need to understand that automation means that guests have to do more themselves, and that will make them question the value that your brand is having. That is really important. So does this mean that the technology is worthless? That's far from being right on my end. I believe in a supervised transition where we need to constantly understand and be measuring every time which processes can be automated and which ones will require that human touch that we always are looking for in the hospitality industry. So how we determine that? We believe that you need to ask your guests directly, and we need to discover together where we feel comfortable even being self-served. We don't want to be asking the same questions every time, but also AI will be evolving within time. I think we all agree here that we'd love to see an automatized, highly effective AI answering everything at any hour in seconds to add an infinite value to the guest. But that's a beautiful promise today. But we need to think hardly in the adoption, as strong as we think of the desired outcomes. There are no shortcuts here. So for example, when ATMs were implemented in banks, overall satisfaction decreased. That doesn't mean that ATM's technology wasn't right. But today, for example, I cannot imagine to speak with a human to withdraw money. That is not being questioned. But the real question is, what can we learn from such implementations? And how can we make that process lighter for the consumer, recognizing that there will be resistance to change? There are still technological gaps that need to be fulfilled and procedure gaps that need to be redesigned. But we need to focus on making human touch scalable rather than replacing everything with a type of ATM solution. That's roughly my opinion on that.
Thank you very much. Somebody would like to give a point here or add something what just Felix said, please go ahead. We have maximum 3 minutes for that. So please, Erik, Neil, Chris, Amit.
Felix, I have a question, Felix. How do the hoteliers you speak to, how is the difference in between luxury hoteliers who have a lot of high expectations from their guests versus maybe budget hotels in terms of automation? How are they? Do they have different opinions in terms of how they think about it?
I see the clients thinking differently as they higher end. It's like if you put them in two different poles, you have people thinking on a future where there's no people working and robots are running the whole place, and the other ones that are highly reluctant on and those would be that pose the higher end hotels, luxury hotels versus budget hotels. But I don't think the future is humans or no humans. I see a mix of superhumans, highly potentiated by these tools. So the discussion always end up with the wrong questions. Do we have to replace all the employees today in the hotel because tomorrow there will be no employees? That's not the right question. The right question is, what things can I automatize today, and to look into my business model and how these type of process are able to be automatized and be recognized as something valuable for my type of customer. Maybe a budget hotel, those customers don't want to speak to anybody because they have been around in and out of the same hotel and they know everything and they don't need to ask questions to anybody, and that's highly valuable for them. So we need to understand and respect that space, but also we don't need to go into the temptation on seeing, oh, there's a lot of money on saving a lot of time and on that and trying to implement a one-fit-all solution to all the types of hotels and customers.
I think it's also important to think about here that going through the pandemic that we've gone through, there's going to be this balance that as hoteliers that we need to try and strike correctly, right? We talk about here the human touch versus tech touch. Well, human touch, really, that's what we're trying to avoid during this pandemic. But on the other side, we're all doing the very best that we can to have an emotional connection to people that are outside the four walls of our own house, right? So I think, you know, when it comes to trying to find a way of being able to strike the balance here, we need to be able to do a way that there's technology that helps the hotelier do things in an automated way that adds value to the guest experience, but on the other hand, enables the hotelier to do what they do best, which is connect emotionally and personally with those guests when they're on property, and not be stuck with their head stuck down in the computer on a check-in when they can actually have a system that enables them to do that, right? So we have to find that way in order to be able to start thinking, you know, people are going to be craving that personal touch, that human touch when they start traveling again. So now we need to find a way in order to be able to scale that correctly, to take as much of the automation in place, and then let the hospitality people do what they do best and speak and serve our guests.
I can definitely relate to Felix's example with ATM. I think that consumer resistance on the one hand is something that must be managed. Definitely when you start to think about hospitality and the warmth that comes with that, doesn't go with automation, does go with human touch. So if I'm checking in and all I'm seeing is a kiosk that's robotic, that's not my connotation of the best check-in experience that warmed my heart, you know, as I think back. But we also have to think at what is the pandemic creating for us hoteliers as an opportunity in that context of consumer behavior. And look at what we're doing right now at this second. The massive revolution in acceptance of video conferencing, which previously was the only limited experience of geeks and some tech executives.
Amit,
and now we go from grandmothers to children in preschool. It's a natural part of our day, right? So, and that is actually, that could be where you can actually mix that human touch in a very scalable, very efficient way. That is a human touch. We got used to that video is a form of human touch where you can convey emotions and welcome people. And we need to think how actually we include that in throughout the guest experience as they stay.
I just want to set a point, just very quickly. A full automation in a hotel, for me, what I'm thinking, it's impossible. We have a few hotels in Japan that do that, but I'm sure they don't have 80% or 90% occupation. When you go to a hotel, even if you go for a MICE or corporate or leisure, you need the human touch. However, automation can be fully operational for flats, long stay, or Airbnb, for example. For those three kind of segments. Totally automation is already implemented in a few countries. We have in Buenos Aires, we have in Brazil, we have in Spain. You don't even see the person. You just go, you access, you have your key to access that house or that apartment, for example. In that place, full automation is crucial. For hoteliers, I don't think so. When you go to a hotel, you want to have some experience. You need to human touch. And if you go for leisure, maybe corporate, you don't want to speak with nobody because the entire day speaking with people. We understand that. But for leisure, now leisure are the simple. Hey guy, how are you? Hey, do you have a caipirinha, for example? Can you have a scotch? So yeah, if a robot brings you the scotch, and normally when you drink a scotch, you're happy. So you want to speak even with the person that brings you that. So this I think we cannot lose on the hotel side. That's everything I need to say. Thank you very much.
Let me just close up with a learning point from yesterday, right? Because yesterday we were discussing about contactless and innovation and how that would let's just say improve how hotels work. And Erik, to your point, first of all, I think that there's a very interesting topic to be discussed at another time, which is you all work with companies that have both super luxury and budget properties in the same portfolio, right? And I think Neil can relate to what I'm saying. And you're servicing it with the same product, or at least a version of the same product. But what I think the message should be is that through digitalization, through productification, through SaaS, what we're allowing the hotels, and sorry if the tech geek is coming out, Amit, keep me in check, is that you're allowing them to be more efficient and give a better experience, right? And the example we used yesterday was, if you go contactless and you're using one of the tools that you already present today, instead of having 25 receptionists and then only one guest relation manager, you might as well have one receptionist and 25 guest relation managers, which are doing what you should be doing, which is manage your guest relation, right? So I think that's the silver lining that hotels need to.
Great, let's move to the next question. Well, of course, we go ahead for more than 4 minutes. Doesn't matter, guys. It's enough. I'll just stand on discussion. So I don't know who is the next. I think it's Alejandro. Go ahead, huh? All yours.
I thought you were gonna take it because of the relationship, but I'm super glad to take it. So Neil, what can I say? You've been in the industry for so long, since you were a baby, right? Because you have 20 years, now you're 30. So the thing is, really, we know that chatbots can increase booking conversion, but what else can what can you use them for outside of that, right? So we tend to look at technology for a single purpose, right? So it's like WhatsApp search are only for messaging and that's it. In your mind, what is chatbots, or what can chatbots be used for?
Yeah, so thank you, Alejandro. So I think you're right. You know, there's a lot of focus in the industry right now about chatbots and how they can help to convert bookings. In fact, I've used various figures batted around within the industry of an ROI of 30 to 1, which I think, you know, is huge. And I think, you know, it's obvious chatbot can help to deliver booking details such as prices and availability to guests. But also, you know, I think it's important to bear in mind that information is what drives the guest journey, right? Right from the very beginning, when we're looking to book, we have a question such as, can I bring my dog to the property? When I'm at the booking phase, what room types are available and what's the differences within those room types? Then just before I arrive, what's the check-in policy right now for COVID? Is it digital? Is it not? And how do I get to the property? What's the deals on the transport and the restrictions? Then during stay, you know, there's loads of questions that come up. What time is breakfast? Can I get extra towels to the room, etc., etc., etc. And I think, you know, if we think like I go back to the times when I worked on reception, and I worked at hotels. I had 900 rooms, 600 rooms, airport hotels, and I just think of the queues, you know, and the amount of those queues that people were waiting in to ask silly questions. I mean, they literally queued up to ask questions that, you know, everybody should know, or that information should be easily available, right? And for those of us then that really did need to check out to be able to get to our meeting, you know, we always found that one guest in front of us that had that silly question, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, right? And I think from our perspective, you know, it's how can we get that information available to our guests at all of those particular phases within the guest journey, and ensure that, you know, it's easily available and they can access it whenever they want. So I think, you know, with one of the tools that we've got, which is the guest experience automation, we built this based on having spoken with our clients. I mentioned this during my introduction, and some of the stats that we took from our clients. So we spoke to one chain of 30 hotels that said to us that of all of the queries that they get from emails or messages, 63% of all of those queries came from the same 8 questions. Yes, 63%. We then spoke to a chain of more than 800 hotels who had done the same analysis, and they stated that 91% of the emails and messages they received were from the same 18 questions. Okay, so these are the same queries over and over and over again. So if we find a way to be able to automate that and make this easily available to the guests which today are now more used to using technology and more used to having that in the palm of their hand, imagine the positive impact automating these responses could have on the guest experience. The positive impact on the team, you know, they're not looking at those huge queues at the moment. They're dealing with guests that have specific queries, and they're not worried about the 6 people that are waiting behind. They can actually focus on that one guest that's in front of them. You know, the efficiency that this creates, because all of a sudden, you know, a room service request is automatically being automated over to the room service department and not coming via reception, who have to pick up the phone while they're doing the check-in. The housekeeping request that can be automatically sent via a mobile application to that particular housekeeper on duty. The same for maintenance. I have a broken shower, I have a light bulb out, I need batteries, that you can ask the chatbot, and the chatbot takes the information necessary and delivers that to the necessary department so that those queries can get dealt with. This is what efficiency is about. This is making sure that I don't need to have everybody coming down to reception. I can, coming back to the comment earlier about contactless, take away all those guests needing to congregate in one particular area, but be able to ask that information, whether they're at the side of the pool drinking a caipirinha, as Vinny mentioned earlier, or whether they're up in their room or doing whichever. But they have the ability to be able to ask that without needing to go and really you know, speak face to face and create another challenge for the guests. So I think, you know, in short, the answer is yes. There's more to chatbots than just bookings. Let's be fair, bookings are important, specifically at the current situation that we find ourselves in. But a chatbot solution is more than just an integration with the booking engine. It can help to improve efficiency, improve the guest experience, improve your online reputation because of the service you're offering, and then put the pricing power back in the hands of the hotelier because they have a great online reputation.
Well,
Thank you a lot,
for that.
I would like to make a little point here. Others in hoteliers, we need to understand one thing. When we talk about chatbots, you don't need to think about only in your website. That chatbots will be connected maybe with your Facebook, maybe with your Instagram, maybe with your LinkedIn, and other segments that you can touch base. Another thing, most hotels normally the message sometimes come after 2-3 hours. What happens? You lose. You lose a client, you lose a reservation, you get a client mad that maybe because he didn't have any kind of answer, he will come back because he's angry. And even if something urgent or a person sent it in this way, they don't want to call any hotel. They want to try to get through WhatsApp, for example, or the chat box on Facebook, because he has a question concerning about a reservation. And if he needs to spend 2-3 hours, maybe he goes cancel and buy another hotel. So technology is here to help you, hoteliers, to help you guys. So we are not a cost, Most of hotels listening to us, oh, you're a cost, you're too expensive. No, the automation that we do, we reduce all entire costs, and you get more direct reservations, for example. So don't lose such opportunity. Thank you very much.
And Bini, let me add a quick comment there, because I think Neil and I will completely relate to this. But I think that this is when you see your little son's toys and say, oh, these are greater than what I had in my time, right? So after listening to Neil, I'm super energized. I want to go back and work at a reception now, because we would be able to do what we wanted to do, which was hospitality. Neil, I used to work those long queues at the reception myself, and it was a hard job, right? And we didn't have the tools that we have right now. So I think it's again, Erik put it very well. So it's a very good time to be in hotel tech, but also in hotels, because the lives of the hoteliers are made easier. So you can concentrate on giving an experience, right? I don't know. I remember my times working night shifts, and now it would be a blast, right?
Totally.
Can I add one thing on this also? What we see, if you compare now versus about a year ago, I think maybe half of the bookings that we see across our hotels happen the same day as check-in. So huge, like there's basically no lead time at all, or booking window. And what happens then is that if you traditionally do your pre-arrival communication by email, it gets less effective. So that's why we at Oki, we're very passionate around partnering up with partners, like for example, ReviewPro having chatbot technology, because it allows you to do upselling through other channels. And I think their chatbot is another big opportunity. It's a cool new channel that is proven to be more effective when other channels may become less effective by virtue of this booking window being non-existent for quite some months now. And the cool thing, what we see when you connect upselling to a chatbot, is that you can turn a lot of these questions into transactions. Someone asking about a checkout, you don't just say, here is the information, you also add a deal to it that they can purchase right away. So
absolutely. And I think there's one last thing to add to this as well, because Alejandro, you mentioned about the night shift, and I think that the night shift is one of those areas in the hospitality industry where the consistency of service will vary greatly, right? And that's one thing a chatbot solution gives you, right? A chatbot solution gives you consistency all the time, yeah, because the answer is delivered in the same way at each point, and uses technology in order to make sure that it's answering that query. And I think that's really, really important as well.
I just want to add one quick point here, Vinny.
Please
so while Neil and Alejandro, while you're talking about being on the reception and being on the hotel side, and unfortunately I do not have that experience. I come from the traveler perspective. Even up until last year, I have had such experiences at hotels where I had myself been at queues at the reception to ask very silly questions. It's like, just because you cannot find that information, you have no other way out. I mean, it could be as simple as asking for an iron, or very simple things. But then you have even big brands, but very conservative in their approach, just because they would not want to say get into automation, or put in a chatbot, or get into other digital means, so to say. So while the rest of the experience has been great, but these small things, as a guest, as a traveler, it really affects. So just going down to the reception for asking one silly thing. I mean, so here we are not just talking about the hotel, but also the guest and how it impacts the whole, experience for us as guests.
Correct. And I think what you're saying here is key, because it also links to what Erik said about the upsells. I remember an example of staying at a hotel in Thailand, and I was hammered by sleep deprivation, couldn't sleep. I wanted a drink from the minibar. It wasn't finished. I wasn't going to get dressed up to go down to reception in order to ask them, can I please have a can of whatever, right? But if I had the option to do that online from my phone and know that somebody will deliver it when they can, they would have got an upsell from me, and I think that's the kind of thing that we have to think about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And just to reassure you, Niha, that silly is an internal Neil and Alex term. So client facing is a super important question, right? So that's, and hoteliers know that. But But going down that line then, I think that what we're talking, and Erik and Neil and Neha have tied all the knots into how to use technology cooperatively, right, and start to innovate. And Amit, let me ask you, what do you think, because we are the tech freaks in this show, right? So we've declared ourselves that way. So what is needed from your view for a hotel to be 100% innovative, really, while meeting traveler expectation, right? Because it's, again, not the machine against the human and nothing in between, Terminator kind of style. So what do you think about that? How can they be really innovative?
Yeah, I think that as consumers, we can really connect to the innovations, to the great experience. I'd love to have had that chatbot many times that I can think about while traveling. But when you turn to the back office and try to see how this actually gets deployed, what's the time to deploying this from the moment you as a hotelier are excited by such an opportunity, then you come into this whole annoying word called integration. And actually, how does that fit into what time it will take you? Is it going to be a quick? Is it going to be 12 months? You know, and I think that's an area where this is an opportunity to look at our infrastructure and prefer the ones, and you see more and more hotel infrastructure solution, the vendors that are taking this modularity solution of marketplace of solution of all different guest experiences that would plug in. And you know, it's just not only brings to you all this innovation right there within your PMS or whatever your system is, and just push a button, it's there. It also quickens the time to actually get that deployed. And you know, that is you know, the annoying thing that we don't want to be bothered with. We just want to focus on having that innovation in place. But do you really have today the ability to get it deployed, or is your system in these different silos that will create this fragmented experience that prevent you from moving fast? I mean, we are seeing that in the distribution space, where a case in point, we're working with a customer that was a larger hotel, airport hotel. They reached an agreement. They were looking to reach an agreement with the service desk to allow check-in directly from the service of the airport, where people are missing their flight, maybe even with per hour availability and rate. They approached a connectivity solution that they were using, and they said, yes, we can. That could be a 12 months time to delivery. And by the way, we must see another 100 hotels that are asking for the same. So this guy I'm trying to be innovative here. You know, I'm trying to move fast, try things. Maybe it doesn't work, maybe yes, but let's move fast and optimize things and see if the guests meet their expectation. And therefore, you have to say, okay, how do I actually modernize my ability to do business from an infrastructure standpoint? And that's, I think, an often forgotten aspect that is actually quite crucial to making it work together.
And I think to your point, Amit, it's fair to say that it's open API, open platform or die, right? Going forward. And I think that's one of the questions that hoteliers should always make when engaging with a hotel tech supplier, right? So are you open API? What's your time to pick? I like the word deploy, so it's part of my vocabulary every single time I talk. So, and I share that with you. And I think that you're making a super important point, right? So it's the time to market that innovation takes for you to get ahead of the curve, right? I don't know if anyone else has anything on this point. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to leave it with Neha then.
Great. So next up, I have a question for Erik here. Erik, we have been talking, of course, about upsell. So my next question for you relates to that. So, you know, given the current pandemic and, you know, with the hotel staff being reduced, so, you know, hotels need to do more with limited resources. So what, according to you, are some of the, like, you know, best practices that you see from hotels to create and execute on upsells that can really enhance the guest experience?
Thank you, Nia. So let me try to give an answer on this and see what the discussion will be following that. But okay, when I think about it, and I've been on 2 staycations during COVID, both in Amsterdam, both fabulous. And what you notice and what you sometimes forget when you're on the technology side of the hotel industry is that all of us, we're in the business of creating memorable experiences. I love that sentence. We're in the business of creating memorable experiences. But if you think about it, what is a memorable experience? Well, clearly that experience is going to be different for me than it is to you and everyone else. So when we look at the hotels that are doing best in Oki, looking at their upselling results, it's fantastic and amazing to see that hotels that have been customers of Oki for 3-4 years have had their best result ever during the pandemic. Not all of them, obviously, but we're very happy to see that quite a few of them have. What is it that they have in common? Well, first of all, they realized quite quickly, my type of guest is going to change. I will no longer have international travelers. It's all going to be an excess demand of domestic travel. So they first of all changed their marketing approach to make sure that they did marketing towards leisure and domestic. And then they sat down, and this is what I love the most. They sat down with the whole team, less resources, but they tried to get all the heads and all the knowledge in the hotel to talk about, these are the types of guests we want to attract. What do we think they're interested in? And then we look at 2 things. When you come and stay with a hotel, you have basic needs. Basic needs have changed. We see that we sell twice as much parking pre-arrival today than we did pre-COVID, because people travel by car instead of train. Okay, are you upselling parking pre-arrival? If you don't, you should probably do that. Are you upselling things like pre-book a reserved slot when you have breakfast, pre-book a table? All of those things also have seen a huge spike. And in general, a lot of in-room offerings have seen a big spike. Along with just having a fantastic stay and a clean room, then you turn to, okay, we cover the basic needs and we can try to automate as much as possible before arrival or at check-in or during the stay in terms of upselling. What can we now do to truly delight? And here, there are many examples, but we have, for example, hotels that are now offering their butler. So you have a personalized butler, even in 4-star hotels. You have people that will be someone's butler for the whole day. And one example that I love is from one of our Hard Rock hotels in the Maldives, where they know that a lot of guests, they travel there to propose. They want to get married. And they created a deal which includes a lot of components from the hotel, but it's a perfect deal for that type of segment. And the deal is called It All Starts with a Little Rock. And it's a $2,200 deal that they sell before arrival. And it includes everything you can imagine. It is like 3-course dinner on the beach. It's like rose petals on the bed. It's like a show when you arrive, and it's all mega romantic. And it's just delight like you could have never imagined. And these deals are being sold 3-4 days before they actually fly to the Maldives when these hotels were open. So it really showcases that regardless of things being expensive, if it includes the right amount of things that that specific person is looking for, and in many of these scenarios, it was the person who wanted to propose that made the booking. Yeah, so that's great. That surprise factor for the other spouse is still there, right? Is creating a fabulous guest experience. But the best side of it all is that when you involve the whole team in coming up with this package, you have a sense of ownership and a really cool culture from the hotel's perspective. And that creates a different type of service delivery. And from many of the hoteliers that we've talked to, where you talk about operations nowadays, when you've had to furlough a lot of people, I think it's the same speaking for most of us in the tech companies. We have to wear more hats. So having a sense of ownership in what we do creates a culture in which you can be really proud of what you do. And I think that really shows. So in summary, what are your guests? What do they really care about? What are your basic needs that you can create? How can you delight them? and how can you create a culture so that your entire team stands behind this delight and service delivery. Then those are the type of hotels that we see have done phenomenally throughout also the pandemic.
I think the key point that I pick up from what you just shared, Erik, and by the way, it was like amazing to hear all the the things that you shared just now. But what essentially you're saying is to create employee engagement, and through that to create customer engagement. Because the more engaged your employees are, and the more brains they are putting behind any campaign or any upsell or any packages for that matter, would ultimately see more ownership and, of course, customer delight, which is the end result. So
yeah,
I mean,
and I think this probably holds true for technology at large. If you implement any type of tech and the employees don't stand behind it, it's hard to get adoption. But specifically here, it's not in upselling. It's not enough that you have the best revenue manager in the world who puts the perfect price. You have to have many components. But if you nail it, then that's cool. And that we see it as a change during COVID from many hotels that have this entrepreneurial spirit. And if that sticks also afterwards, we can see some really cool new experiences also as travelers.
Awesome, Erik.
I think somehow we're all going back to the startup culture. I think it is true for most of us. Yes, please, Vinny, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just will put that aside. That's what Erik says is for this time and for the future, creating different kind of package to attract different kind of segments for your hotel. It's crucial, but it's crucial we start now. The pandemic, I don't have my hotel is closed. Okay, relax, calm down, think what you can do, thinking for the future. Not only thinking, okay, when this open, I'm gonna push 100, 1,000 package. No, take your time to understand the past of your hotel. What kind of public you have during the year. Okay, so you'll see maybe on low season you have people that maybe don't spend too much, and you need to create package for that kind of customer. In high season, you have maybe those that spend a lot of money. For example, I just give you an example. Okay, let's say that I have a hotel on the Caribbean or on Africa or in the Middle East. You can create package with your scuba diving, the romantic side. You have a lot of options. And this period of time, hotels need to understand one point on my understanding is based in your location. For sure, you have a lot of service, a lot of options that your customer needs to find out outside your hotel. So now you have the time to connect with those persons. You start offering and creating package, not only inside of your hotel. Maybe you can have a package in your hotel with a relaxed, romantic, and then include, you're gonna have a scuba diving, you're gonna have a boat, I don't know, you're gonna have a trekking. If you're in the mountains, you can offer a lot of things, and you need to expand your partnerships and your geographic zone and do that upselling with your rates. That will help you to sell, and also use your social media. Please, if you still don't use a tag manager to understand who comes from Instagram, from Facebook, and do it right now. That is a need to do now. Why? Because with that information, you'll be able to understand what kind of public comes from Facebook and buy the public that you have on Instagram and LinkedIn and your main marketing on your WhatsApp or Telegram channel and all the other partnerships you can do. So this is the most important thing, to be clever right now and think in the future and think in the possibilities that you can have in the geographic zone. Don't lose time. Start to do that now, because this can make even your rates goes up. So your room, whoa, if you sell for an example 200 euros, maybe in 1 year you're going to sell for 400, because you change also the kind of public. So work on that continuously. It's just my little opinion here. Thank you.
If I may add just one thing, I think one of the things that Erik mentioned, I think, and yourself, Vinny, is really key, is that as an industry, we've become a lot more creative in the past 9 months. right? We've had to find different solutions. We've had to work differently. We've had to find ways to be able to make ourselves relevant in a market that maybe we never used to try to attract before. And just like one of the scenarios that Erik mentioned, like car parking, I worked at a hotel many moons ago that had a 90% occupancy all year round. And then I was tasked to grow that. And I grew it through the car parking. That's how I drove the revenue. We were at an airport. People wanted to stay the night before and leave their cars, you know. And I think for me, the big thing for our industry is that we need to make sure that we don't think about this creativity that was just to get us out of COVID, out of the pandemic. This creativity needs to be fostered. Some of the best people in any industry are in the hospitality industry because they're young, they're energetic, they can develop within the industry really quickly and easily if they show that they've got the right attitude. And there's so many great ideas out there from these young people that we need to make sure, I think what Erik said, to bring those ideas, bring it aside to technology. The teams are going to be excited to get involved with the technology and then see a huge revenue generation. It's like, it's so important to make sure that moving forward that it's not just a quick fix solution, but we continue to think about those various packages and the type of guests that are coming in.
I think a great part of tying in upselling to the concept of hospitality is, you want to anticipate needs. If you can anticipate needs, you can do much more upselling. And big data has a chance to really make an impact in that regard. I mean, it's hard to just decide in advance. It's because different people are very different in what they're going to. It's difficult to anticipate, but big data makes a big difference in that. You can just look at the different characteristics of your guests, where the reservation came from, what was their behavior once they arrive, and so on. And then different folks can get different offers at the right timing. That can drive a lot of impact on actual responsiveness. So, that's, I think, do you have the systems in place that are actually collecting the data today so that you will have the information about your audience as those capabilities become important? So that I think is another way that technology is going to make hospitality much smarter. It's seamless to the user. They don't know why at 6 o'clock they got the offer for the margarita or whatever that may be. But they're behind the scene. There's a lot of sophistication that technology can add into the mix as well.
And let me pick up a point on what you said, Neil, that is super important. That we know that there's a lot of good, very good, valuable talent exiting the industry currently because of the situation, right? And I think we have to do our best effort to keep them, right? And if not, we're benefiting other industries as well, because we know that there are other industries that are even less digitalized than hospitality and travel, right? So the other thing is I'm super happy that my wife wasn't here when Erik was mentioning the multi package. So if not, I would be getting asked to get married.
I see the same. I just don't want to tell her that. When it's thinking about all the roles and said, okay, I'm very glad that my wife is not listening to this.
Drop the computer, okay, so Erik, we need to polish that part of the speech.
Okay, we can just bleep it in the recording. Beep.
But then you mentioned something super interesting, which is driving changes at a hotel using customer behavior. And I was going to ask Chris, because you have a lot of experience with hotels and you're getting a lot of feedback. Is in your experience, how have you seen hotels using that feedback to adapt operationally to become better than what they are?
So I think this is, I certainly for me, this is a fascinating conversation, because I think all of us love what we are able to see the technology do for this industry. And I mean, I was talking with someone the other day and said, I think when you look at the changes in technology over the last 5 years in the hospitality industry, the technology is driving hospitality now. There are so many changes that have happened and so many innovations and insights, and just listening, even the chatbots, and how we're looking to implement that into the kind of day-to-day operational thinking. I actually want Neil, when you talk about the 18 most common questions, I think we need to implement this in our own company. I have to deal with that all the time. I think we're going to build our own chatbot and put it in our company. But it comes back to the technology, and it's always really fascinating for me to see how the technology can make such a difference, even in all of the automation. What we've seen with our clients, particularly over this time, I mean, I think we all know that the hospitality industry particularly has been one of the hardest hit, if not the hardest hit, in the pandemic. And so many businesses have had to really drastically change the way they think and their operational plans. They've had to reduce staff and furlough them, as Erik said, and just reduce their expenses, change their commitments with their suppliers, and just focus right now on kind of day-to-day survival, never mind driving new business. I mean, but I think the other thing that's happened is it's given them a chance to really sit down, like Erik has explained, and reevaluate their business and have a look at what's working and what's not, and what they have been offering and what makes sense. I think often we come across them that are just, they're going through the motions because they've always done that in the past, and this is what they've done. And now is the chance when they can sit back and say, okay, what actually makes sense here? Does this, is this still the case? Whether it's, environmental changes, etc. So we've seen, and we've worked with a number of them. There's very little, that can be done now to increase and drive business as it was before the pandemic. But actually planning for the recovery and planning for what they're going to be doing has become, a really important focus area. We've seen, many of our clients go back, like Vinny said, go back into the data, look at what has been coming through the feedback, and understand what's been raised and what's working and what's not, and actually using that downtime to make a lot of the operational decisions that perhaps they didn't have time for in the past, and the changes that they didn't have time to do. And all of it is driven by real feedback data from the guests. So they're looking at actually what people want. But they're going back to different segmentations of guests, and based and asked about things about future travel plans, what they would like, what they haven't, what their intentions are, what their expectations are when they come to the property, when they spend the time. Do they want to go through a digital process or a physical process in terms of check-in? And so we've gone back. We've done a lot of work with it. It's always critical to keep a finger on the pulse, for every hotelier, on the guests about what their experience is. But now, so much more so now than ever before, when things are changing so fast, it's critical to know exactly what the drivers are and how we do that. So, as an example, we worked with a whole bunch of our clients, across the spectrum, the whole scope of our user base, to send out special and customized questionnaires just about aimed at gauging sentiment and expectation and future intentions of what they were going to do. And some of the stats from that research, indicated some really interesting things, like, operational changes, and some that might be better received than others, depending on, it's about just, aligning expectations between the guests and what the properties are planning on doing. So, for example, everyone was at one stage very concerned about, the utensils and cutlery and what they were offering, etc. And they were wanting to go and use disposable and plastic. And there was this overwhelming response that said they don't want to use plastic cutlery. That's not what they want to use. It would impact on the guest experience. So those are the kinds of things that we've seen driving operational decisions. And and it may seem like a small thing, but for a lot of the properties that we work with in the groups, when they feel like they know what their guests want, then they feel a little bit more confident, and it actually raises their spirits, and they feel a little bit more positive about things. And it's listening to some of the comments earlier. I think the overriding thing that that happens in our business. It's about creating relationships, between the properties and the guests. And when you feel that that's going great and you're kind of on top of that, then it's incredibly encouraging. So yeah, we're seeing a huge adaptation in our client base, given the circumstances and the clients, and we're seeing how they're beginning to use the technology to gain more insight and to understand the experience better and to continue to drive that reputation, even in these challenging, times and environments at the moment.
Well, thank you very much for that, Chris. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
Just one thing. I think based on what Chris said, we look at online reputation and reviews and how important they've become. I think what Chris has just said knocks it right on the head. Guest feedback is more important now than ever because the whole experience is changing, the whole expectation is changing. And the more feedback that you can analyze, understand, and take action upon, because the feedback is only as good as the action that you take on that, right? Yeah. And that's the key thing, is how does it re-engineer the way that you provide your product and your service to your guests? And like, this feedback is so key now because guests are going to be looking left, right, and center before they travel to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe, and the people that they travel with do as well.
Yeah. That old adage of feedback is a gift is super right, super spot on, right?
Absolutely. I think action on feedback. There's a frustrated customer turned happy. That's some of your best relationship and your best advocate. So correct. Quick action can definitely make all the difference there.
Good. Thank you very much, guys, for that. So I think I'll leave it with Neha then.
We're going to start the second round of questions now. Before we start, we have only till now 2 questions. I already answered those, but we're going to request your speakers. So for the public that is listening to us, please don't lose the opportunity. Send your questions. When we'll finish, we'll pass through them to take out all your doubts you can have. Okay, thank you very much. Nika, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks. So we start the second round with Amit. Amit, my question for this round is, the term frictionless, it is often used in terms of like hotel experience. So what makes a frictionless guest experience from check-in to check-out? I'll repeat the question. What, according to you, makes a frictionless guest experience from check-in to check-out, given that, you are talking to hotels, providing them with solutions for the same? So please go ahead.
I think my most memorable hotel experiences are exactly, both for the positive and the negative, are connected to this word of friction versus seamlessness. Like my best hotel experience, W at Bangkok. I don't think it was 15 years ago. I will never forget that check-in experience, and it was really consistent. Obviously, that's what they do, and they treat you like a king. And it was there through consistency was the key. It did not change throughout the whole experience. Whereas elsewhere, you create an expectation, you break it up. So, and the flip side, I think it was a couple of years ago, 45-minute check-in to a resort in Spain. The kids in a car with the air condition on. Never forget that experience either. And that's so important, those touch points and the consistency behind that. And that's where you need automation. Okay, don't think about automation where it just saves your own staff effort, but just look for those friction points and make your KPIs to improve on them. They're very measurable, and it had a huge impact on that as well. Also, checkout is a tense moment. First of all, I'm paying. That's already a bad thing, right? And I'm late to a meeting. I need to run. I have the queue there. That's a point where I don't need a human touch. That's an area where I need automation, and that digital interaction. Really, it's not just as I said before. I automate those interactions. It doesn't not allow me to give that consistency and give that KPI that is measurable. Saying, okay, where do I have a problem in my hotel? Like, okay, I know that I know those cues are there, but am I actually on track to improve things? Because because of the reputation, the importance of reputation, these things may make all the difference between the next reservation coming in or not. And at the same time, that's creating for me data that I can collect, track, aggregate, and use it. You know, all those digital interactions are also should be looked at as one chain. You know, what are the data points that interact customer satisfaction, that measure satisfaction, that are measurable and improvable throughout that value chain. So, you know, friction can be measured in time, in the number of pieces of information that are needed, in the special attention to children, people traveling with children, of course, in that leisure situation. That's a huge part of either their overhead, mental overhead, or their kind of relief and the gratitude that they have for that experience. All these things really have to be in line with the brand promise of the hotel. I'm selling this experience, but am I really feeling into that? So, you know, the question is like, how do I have a process of constant improvement in my hotel that says, okay, this is where I am right now, this is how I'm measuring, and this is where I'm going to be a month from now versus where I was before. That's crucial nowadays to actually, you know, sell those, make those experiences and deliver on that promise.
Great. Any inputs on that? Completely agree with what Amit had to say, of course, and the check-in, check-out definitely need to be more seamless. I think we've all discussed this over the past few minutes through different questions.
So awesome. Let's move ahead. If nobody has any opinion to set it up, the next question is for my good friend and old friend, Mr. Neil James. That's my turn. Neil, so how technology is accelerating so fast in the current marketplace? Are we in danger of losing the human touch? I'll repeat the question. Technology is accelerating so fast in the current marketplace. Are we in danger of losing the human touch? What do you think?
Thanks, Vinny. So I think it's important to think, and I think we've touched on this throughout the session today, Bryce, like we need to think of technology as the enabler within the guest journey. Yeah, it's the enabler. It's enabling the guest to get responses to their queries. It's enabling the hotel team to focus on those guests that have more complex or more detailed queries. It's enabling the property to improve efficiency and service levels, right? So the technology is there, is how it gets used and how you make sure you do that to create an improved service for those particular guests. Yeah, I'm going to come back to what Amit just said regarding check-in and check-out. I remember back in December, which was the last time that I took a flight. It's amazing how you remember that all of a sudden post the pandemic. And I was actually in Las Vegas, okay? And I was in a hotel, and for everybody that's not been there, hotels in Las Vegas are huge. They're like mini cities, okay? And I had the unfortunate scenario where I was right at the end of one of the wings, so it literally took me a 10-minute walk to get to reception, which is great because it's just an amazing example. But I walked all the way through the hotel, past all of the various casino machines, get into reception, and when I get to reception, I then have an opportunity to check myself out on a kiosk. Why on earth did I not get an email to say, do you want to check out from your room? And then you can go straight to concierge and you don't have to walk past reception. You don't have to queue up. You can do it. Why did I not get that? You know, for me, that was crazy because that for me, that was a level of frustration that all of a sudden, because there was a queue at reception, there was a kiosk there for me to check out. But then it was more infuriating that I couldn't have done that from my room before walking through reception with my case, you know? So I think, like, for me, it's about how do we adopt this technology? Because, you know, as we've said earlier, people are adopting technology now faster now in the past 9 months than ever hotels had dreamed of in the past, right? So the technology is there now to help us make sure that we can provide a better service, that we can generate upsells, that we can provide tourist information through that technology that they don't need to queue up for, and they can already start planning from the comfort of their room or the bar or the pool in order to be able to start thinking about what they're going to do next. Guests are now expecting to be able to communicate and to be able to do all of these searches from their phone through the technology methods that they're using. And guests are not as technically challenged as maybe as an industry we thought they were. Yeah, all of a sudden this has helped them adopt the technology, and now they're asking for it. So it's down to us to make sure that we can give them the technology that they're looking for to help them, and give them the choice if they want to use it or not, but then be able to continue to serve them throughout the experience. In the last session we did this for APAC, I talked about one of my best experiences as a guest was at a Citizen M hotel in Amsterdam. Why? Because upon check-in, I could check myself in, but I had a guest relations person there that was speaking to me about my experience, about the property, telling me all the information that I needed to do while I was doing their work, checking myself in. Yeah, but I got all the information that I needed, and this is exactly where it comes. They weren't stuck in the screen waiting for me to get out of the way. They made me feel like they were interested in who I was and why I was visiting, and making sure that I knew what their concept was about. And for me, the technology needs to be implemented in order to help the service that we're providing be more human. Yeah, no more looking at screens and reception, no more inconsistent information provided to our guests, no more long queues at reception because people are asking questions that can easily be driven through technology. And happier team members, happier guests. Yeah, and I think this is the key thing that we have to look at. The technology is there to be able to help provide a better service. And finally, the technology is also the enabler to improve the education of our teams in the hotels. Yeah, a lot of this technology has a huge amount of data in it, and they can actually help the hotels understand the team in the hotel understand more about their own product, right? And then where the pain points are. So for me, the technology is the enabler to be able to provide a more human service. It's not a barrier, and I don't think it's something that we should be afraid of. It's something that we should thrive on.
Thank you, Neil. I have 2 points that I would like to set it up. First of all, what Neil says is communication. We need to have an outstanding communication with the client before it comes to the hotel. To not be frustrated asking if you have a checkpoint and you don't know it. So one thing that you can do, hotelers, to this, if you are using a web check-in platform that can send information through Booking, Expedia, and all of them, you can set it up bullets on that web check-in, but also telling the client, look, and the checkout, if you want, you don't need to go to reception. You need to have a good, very outstanding. Other way is using your website. We have clients, for example, they have the web check-in set it up on the website, and they have the checkout set it up on the website. So from when they go out to the hotel, they don't even pass through reception. They just pass and give the key, but not in the reception either. Just put a little machine that swallows that, and you go. So this is very important. The communication is one of the key. And the guest manager that Neil says concerning Netherlands, I think it's something the hoteliers need to think. If you have automations, it's better than have one person to help those people that want to use those machines as Neil just specified. And this, the client will be very glad because they want to know, like, they love me. And that is what that's what hotel is all about, is the experience. Hoteliers, this is all about. So, and you don't spend more money to do this. And again, if you have a good communication, if you set those bullets and you're check-in that you will write on the first beginning, and even if you have the cell phone of your customer, you can apply a message before it comes through your WhatsApp or through Telegram, or even a CMS telling them, look, when you arrive, you have a machine, you're gonna have a guest, if you want to check out the services. So all the tools are already there. You just need to use it. Thank you.
Vinny, only to complement on Neil's point, we are all excited about the technology that is coming. I'm gonna speak a little bit about in the next question, but we need to be clear to leave the option to the guest to decide what technology, not us to push, because we are technological geeks. We all dream of a future with all these type of beautiful things. But for example, myHotel started a lot of years ago with a mobile app for hotels that nobody downloaded, and we pivoted to the customer experience thing. We passed through a web check-in that is still a product today, that it's booming today. Everybody's using it, and we're giving it away for free. But we're still cautious about what will stay, because previous to the for example, previous to the COVID, the web check-in wasn't, it didn't have too much usage, and it's still to break the barrier. The barrier is not technological, and it's not only about taste. For example, in the check-in example, there are barriers about processes, about relationships within channels. For example, not all the hoteliers have the email of the guest to send even a web check-in or a promotion, or because of a structural negotiation within agencies and hoteliers. So even though the technologies exist for a long time, we need to be cautious on what to push, to understand whether we are pushing the technology only because we like it, or because it is the right timing for the guest to adopt it. That's the thing that we always do, and we measure it with data, and the data has to speak, following also the comment of Amit about using the data, not only on our purpose to sell more and everything, but to understand whether the guests are prepared for the things that we're trying to push.
And Felix, let me try and pick that up from you, because you said it, you're going to address it now, but it's very important, because I think we all touched upon what will happen with work, jobs, people, when automation arrives, when we start automating, right? And the thing is, I would like to ask your view. You're saying customer has the power, right? We have to give the option, but once automation arrives, what do you think will happen with jobs in the industry as it is?
Perfect. That's the question I'm going to address. So there's a lot of estimates about how many jobs are going to be lost or replaced in some sense. The number says roughly half of them. I believe in the hospitality industry is not going to affect that much because of everything that we have talked about, the human touch and the importance of being there and really understanding and connecting in a human based. But that being said, for example, chatbots that we've spoke a lot about them are not the only challenger, for example, for replacing repeating tasks. Only to name a few, for example, you have all the algorithms that, for example, at myHotel, we use it to discover parity rates within OTAs, or I've worked previously, they are highly used. For example, in the financial market, 60% of the transactions are made through algorithms, and there are new coming products that will use algorithms. You have automatic A/B testing that are used by reservation agents and OTAs to automatically design ads or change the color of buttons. That will be highly automated, replacing some of the workload of the marketing part of the hotel. There are neural networks, for example, that are helping revenue management departments. Deep learning is coming for face recognition and speech recognition as well. That's a challenge for us to transform speech to text and analyze that for us, for Chris, for Neil, and for myHotel as well. There's natural language processor that we've been using a lot, and there's voice assistants that, like Alexa or Siri, coming also to become game changers in how we deliver hospitality. So there's a huge challenge for hospitality workers to today stop doing routine tasks, and for trying to not to dispute, but to try to cover for the future and understand that if they are doing something that is routine and replaceable, they need to start understanding how, or asking how they are going to replace task in the future, not to protect their job, but to enhance a better experience, as we said. So rather, it's the vision of the cyborg, as I was telling. It's that mix between the human touch with the machine. So in that sense, I'm excited and I'm optimistic about the future, because we are going to be able to offer highly personalized experience for the guests. That's the bottom line of everything. And rather, as I said in the other question, rather than a lonely hotel run by computers, you will see, I foresee like superhumans delivering a totally new level of hospitality. So I think the amount of people that it's going to be replaced is going to be less in hospitality, as someone said, I don't remember, but people in hospitality are used to this. They are highly innovative. They are used to being constantly challenged by technology and constantly challenging by economic crisis. So I think the hospitality industry people are the most prepared for the changes that are coming, and only they have to enhance this to become these superhumans connected with all these different solutions.
Felix, and let me take a silver lining in what you said, and maybe everyone else wants to chip in. That you mentioned each piece of technology and you tied it to a human being on the other end, right? So you were saying, for example, neural networks, which I'm working with a company on, but then there's someone behind it seeing what that neural network does, right? So again, that's I think the let's just say the moral of the cyborg, right? It's the person using the technology to its best to make things that are routinary or day-to-day run on its own, and then that person can give a lot more value for what we're paying them, for what we're using them, right? So it's using that human element to the fullest potential, right?
Yes, and as you said, it's not only automation, it's like hyper connection, hyper personalization that will deliver that.
I think Felix is touching on issues of technology. People call them user experience, right? But the thing with hospitality, a lot of the entrepreneurs they're coming at it from a real estate standpoint. I can create this amazing room in an amazing location, amazing interior design. Wow, it's an amazing real estate experience. And now this check-in and reservations and check-out and all that, this is not really my thing. It's something I have to put on top because I have to, but it's really one experience. It's really a software experience. Think about it. What would it look like if Apple designed a hotel, if Tesla designed a hotel? You know that it will be a consistent, integrated experience, and they would look at user experience the way these guys look at it and say, okay, what are the friction points where I'm losing my customers and how do I improve them? And also that's one way. And how do I manage the education of change, right? Like I've seen, you can look into a supermarket now and you can see there's a gradual shift between the automated checkout and the human human checkout. And they probably know that over a period of time, you will go from 2080 to 8020, you know, and check-in will go in the way of checkout. There will not be a check-in eventually. There will not be, and I can tell you that initially where I had to do a checkout without a person or go into a kiosk and got at a flight without a person, I was, you know, I was resisting the change. I didn't trust that it's going to work out, but guess what? The second time is no problem. So that's, you know, that's, I think, the right way to look at it. Is not kind of like, okay, feel comfortable with real estate and feel like the technology is something that you put on top of it, but like, how do you look at it as it really is for the user one experience, and that's not going to change.
And Amit, I would say let's not give Tesla and Apple any ideas, because if they're here in this call, they'll be super energized, and let's not do that.
No,
right?
And what's
but
that?
I believe the companies in the hospitality space, due to COVID, have understood this. Like never before, PMSs are open to work with everybody, and I know everybody's experiencing the same thing. But also opportunities. We are working with chatbots. I spoke with Neil also. Everybody is in a cooperative and also competitive space we are all stepping on one's foot, but we are also able to cooperate, and it's not like a winner takes all. We're like entering a new phase of delivering technology, and it's not gonna be like one software that is gonna deliver every solution on my view, but it's a lot of atomized softwares that are gonna be specializing in different things and connecting for the specific needs. As Erik said, high-end luxury hotels will perceive that, for example, a chatbot maybe is not the right solution, but budget hotels needed to be profitable in some sense.
Yeah.
For example, at myHotel ourselves, we deliver a beautiful service, and we are 15 employees. That's 15. It's not even 100, and we deliver the service to 1,000 hotels, and we have a 80 NPS, for example. And companies are starting to build on the softwares of other companies. We do it only because there are amazing companies like Zendesk or whatever, or Amazon, or those big players that are understanding behind scenes how to make technology cost effective and easier to implement. So
yeah, and I
I've seen a very exciting demo there.
I think the way that we're going with the technology, I think there's two things. I think of course there'll be change. Of course there'll be change in different jobs. Revenue manager never used to exist in the past. And things change and new opportunities come about that enable you to look at it. Hopefully, having gone through this period in the pandemic that we've gone through, there'll be new positions that will come into place that are about re-engineering our systems, re-engineering our data, taking actual decisions based off of that. And the other thing is as well, and Erik, this is specifically for you, imagine an upsell opportunity in the future that you actually ask your guests to pay for a human to check you in, because everything else is digitized and now it's a premium service.
Yeah.
Who knows?
could be, yeah.
And to Felix's point, I think we're talking about a lot of collaboration and, all of us tech companies coming together, working, integrating. But then, one additional side that I look at is also skill upgradation and training, not just for our employees, like employees in the tech companies, but also at the hotel end. So we need to be more and more open to be providing refresher trainings and, trainings for the products, for our products that hotels are using, just to make sure that their employees are more effective and are able to understand what the technology can do for them. So I think training and skill upgradation is one very important factor that we all really need to look at, and the hotels as well, of course.
Yeah, one cool demo that I was inspired by so recently is, and maybe is this electronic key that actually doesn't require an app. And Felix, you mentioned that's a friction point where I really want to install an app and no on. But now, hey, welcome Felix to the hotel. Please proceed to go room 115. You go there, and it tells you, well, you still have another hour actually. Do you want to buy early check-in? Click here. You buy it, and the door opens. So this is available today, right? So this is not some pipe dream. So here's something that was a cool idea about user experience was not right there yet, and now things are becoming more and more possible to do it. Very achievable nowadays.
Absolutely. Okay, so Vinesh, shall we move on to the next one?
Sorry. I went to the next question. I didn't. No, you can move forward to the next question. People that is attending us, remember we're finishing the second round. We have, I think, 2 more questions, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so after
next
that
up,
we'll
I
start.
think, Chris.
Yes, you can move forward. So if you want, please, we have a few questions more waiting for answer, and you have at least 10 minutes more to set your questions. Don't lose the opportunity. Thank you. Go ahead, Nika. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you.
So Chris, next question is for you here. So what we have been talking about guest reviews and how reviews are more than important in today's scenario, because obviously guests want to know how a hotel is and how the recent experiences when it comes to health and hygiene. So my question for you is, what if a hotel only gets positive feedback? Does it not lose its value as an operational tool? Like, I mean, is it like a good mix? Or just to understand, is having only positive feedback a minus for a hotel? Or what are your thoughts and what are your experiences when you see that on your product?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't think any hotelier in the world is going to agree that that it uses it. I think, to be honest, given the way that things are changing so quickly these days, you would think that it's not really a common question that we get, but surprisingly, it is. I think I'm very conscious of a principle called marginal gains. There was a very famous British cycling coach, Sir Dave Brailsford, who once said, if you can break down all the individual elements that go into the sport as a whole and then improve each one of them by just 1%, when you bring them all back together again, it results in a significant increase. So we think that principle is as true for hotels, and we often talk and work through these. If you can continue to keep increasing each element and each individual element that contributes to the overall reputation by just 1%, then your resulting impact is significant. I mean, it goes to what Amit was saying about the friction points and being able to look at those and go back and understand all of the elements that drive a whole reputation, because it's not just one thing. It's the way you were greeted, it's the way you were handled, it's the queue, it's all of the elements. Even the way you were upsold and the options that were put to you, it all contributes to that. So we think that whole marginal gains process is really important. So positive feedback, it's great to get, and it serves to confirm and really affirm what it is that you're doing operationally and strategically and marketing, etc., where you're focused, what you're doing. But it can also be used, proactively in marketing campaigns and in upsell campaigns to reassure future visitors of the experience that they can see, to add credibility to what you're doing. And all of those elements contribute to operational decisions and what you do. And of course, once you have good, positive, if by some miracle all of your feedback is positive, because then you've got some amazing guests for a start, because I'm not sure that ever really happens. But you can absolutely take that and start to create the benchmarks of the standards that you really want to have in your property. And you can start to measure against that consistently, and you can start to incorporate all of the team members and all of the departments. We monitor areas internally called the primary service ratings. We look at each of the areas of a property that contribute to the experience and the overall. We monitor those. And so with positive feedback, you can set those benchmarks and you can measure against it. You can create friendly and healthy competition between departments and have leaderboards and put them up there and understand what each of those elements are. And it all comes from the marginal gains. It's a step-by-step process to consistently and gradually get better and better in doing that. So we think that that's really important. And then equally, it helps you to benchmark against your competitors and your competitive set in your area or your segment, so that you can see how it is that you're doing, or how you're not doing at the point, and what you need to do in order to improve, and what sort of expectation are coming. So absolutely not. In fact, I think all feedback is really good, whether it's, even negative feedback is good, because it highlights it. It plugs the hole that perhaps you didn't know about. I've always said that, if I owned a restaurant and someone had a bad meal, I want you to tell me that, because then I know what I need to do to fix it. When you vote with your feet and say nothing and leave and don't ever come back, I'm completely blind. The feedback is important. Sometimes it's really difficult to hear, but it's critically important, because it gives you the truth about what's going on. And once you have that, then you can really start to work on those elements and make a difference. So no, I think absolutely not is the answer. No, it doesn't devalue the operational tool at all.
Awesome. Thank you a lot for your insights. I just, guys, I'm so sorry. I have a commitment in 15 minutes. I never leave. The first time in my life I will leave a panel on travel tech, but it's a very important one. I cannot miss up. So Alejandro and Neha, Alejandro, you have access for all the questions. I will let you finish with Neha this panel. I'm very thankful for new James, Erik, Neha, Felix, Alejandro, Chris, Amit, and I'm so sorry that I need to leave, really, but I really need to. I have no option. If I lose that, I lose money. I cannot lose money at this time and this period that we're passing through. So guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much here, and we count on you for the next editions that we're going to have next year. That will be 5. Alejandro, if you can, when you finish, please say thankful for all the sponsors, media, and tell the people for the next year. Thank you. Cheers, guys. I'm leaving. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thanks, Vinny.
Thank you very much. And you know, this is the way great businesses are born, right? So when you have to drop off a call like this. So we have Federico, right? So just on the support side, but I'm gonna try and close round 2 of questions with the person I know I'm not gonna play poker with, and I'm gonna ask him to teach me how to ride a bike and look at my phone at the same time, right? So Erik, and that's a multitask treat in itself, right? So I'm gonna spam you on it for sure. So we know that COVID has been unprecedented, for lack of a better word, right? So we've seen that the chaos that it has caused and the impact on city hotels has been more than with other types of properties, right? And they were the most, or the worst hit. So I would say, considering what you see and what you've already shared about Opie and your clients, is what are some of the best practices that city hotels can implement right now? So I'm thinking survival, because Chris at some point said, hey, now you have to survive, but then you also have to have that thrive mentality as well, right? Which is a very fine balance. So in your opinion, what would they be able to do currently?
That's a really interesting question. Like it is, and I think all of us here probably have it. We have portfolio. Our portfolio is vast. So we have a lot of hotels on the countryside or at resorts, or they have spa or wellness. They get all that excess demand that doesn't want to go to cities anymore. So probably some of our customers have the best summers they've ever had. And a lot of city hotels have had a really tough time. But I think if we boil it down to one thing, and it comes from, maybe if we summarize this entire conversation, how do you react when there is a crisis? And you react by becoming creative, and you react by becoming a startup. You become entrepreneurial, you think differently. How can I do things in a better way? And what we see from those hotels that received all that excess demand, they were like, holy shit, so many guests are coming. We just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to have the best summer ever. City hotels were like, wow, almost less than 15% occupancy. What can I do to generate more cash, right? So some cool examples. I have a good friend. He has one of the finest restaurants in Amsterdam. They have a 5-star hotel here. He had very little occupancy in his hotel, but a great restaurant. He went around to all 5-star hotels in the city that either closed their restaurants or don't have a restaurant on their own, but they know that they want to serve a certain type of quality food to their guests. And he has offered them basically, so they're upselling his menu. So his restaurant now operating at more than full capacity, delivering meals to all types of 5-star hotels in the city. Super smart, entrepreneurial way of keeping his fabulous restaurants alive. We have hotels that have parking facilities. Talk about it again. If you have 15% occupancy, you're not going to fill that parking. But I bet you if you're in a city and you have facilities such as parking or something like that, there will be a lot of people around you that also need parking. So we have hotels that are in the same destination. They can upsell parking to another hotel because they have parking. All of a sudden you benefit. And I love that about, like, it's weird to say love and pandemic in the same sentence. But I love that about the pandemic, that it's bringing us together as a culture. It's bringing hoteliers that used to compete together as the destination, and it's bringing us tech founders and entrepreneurs together as an ecosystem to create new ways to survive and new ways to thrive. And it all comes to down to that sense of being entrepreneurial. And one thing that we are very proud of, because we service more than 2,000 hotels, and in our database we have more than 8,000 things that have been sold, and it ranges from goldfish that you put in the room to, in Amsterdam you have joint rolling workshops. It's like all kinds of stuff on ancillary services to very traditional
things. We can take that one off for sure. We will mention it in another session.
To the Hard Rock Hotel, because if you have a vast amount of different types of customers, you also have different types of needs that you need to service. And what we did was to help hotels, because this I think is important. In a lot of this conversation, it's a lot about what can hotels do. But what I think we also realize here, and thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this. I love being next to all of you guys. In the sense that we are also understanding that as partners to hotels, it is our responsibility to be a thought partner that not only provides technology, but also provides advice and best practices, and is there to support in terms of how to make the most of that technology. That's something we really pride ourselves in. It's not only to upsell a couple of things and hope you get lucky. No, it's about really trying to customize and create bespoke deals that really suit you. And you can do a lot of cool things when you get creative, and you can create really strong relationships. And one thing that we did out of all of these 8,000 deals, and the joint rolling workshop is not part of them, but we picked the 80 best selling ones across the board, and we built something that we always wanted to have. So we built a deal library inside of Oki. So any hotel can now go in and see what are the best-selling deals during COVID, or F&B related, or activities, or experiences. And we bought stock imagery, and we translated the best-selling content to 30 languages, I think. So that's our kind of responsibility in helping from a tech standpoint to make it easy. But it is also, I think, an opportunity and maybe a responsibility for the entrepreneurial hoteliers to dare to test and see this as an opportunity for what it is. I heard someone mentioning it last week, and by not meaning any disrespect at all, never waste a perfectly fine pandemic. It doesn't come so often, and anything at all that happens in life has its downsides and its opportunities. And you can choose to see life as something that always has downsides, or something that always has opportunities. Make the most of it. That is true to upselling, which is my passion, but to many things other than that as well. So closing note, yeah, we're all in this together, and I'm sure we're all going to come out a lot stronger, more innovative, and more efficient when we're coming out at the light of all of this.
I want to thank you, Erik, for the silver linings of your pitch again once, because I do think, and I think that like Neil and I, who worked in the old days of hotels, right? What I'm seeing is that the pandemic is forcing us to come out of it with more of a collaborative approach, more of a collaborative economy, right? And again, it's companies that at some point might crisscross paths. I think Felix said it, Neil said it, but I think it's also part of our responsibility as tech suppliers, as vendors, as, let's just say, digital consultants, to also work together between us, right? So there's a responsibility in how we create this tech ecosystem, right? And what works for one might not work for others, but you can always add value together, right? and I like to see the glass half full, as you see it, right? So I can completely relate to that. So I don't know if anyone else has any other point on this.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think there's two things on that. So I think like the first thing that I said, or one of the things that I said during my introduction, was that ReviewPro as a company has grown because of working with its clients, right? And it comes back to what Erik's just said, you know, at the end of the day, for us, we're a partner with our clients. We work with them, they help us improve our products. I've just, while we've been talking here, got an email from one particular client who is informing us that they're leaving their particular role to go and work at a technology partner, you know, and at the end of the day, the people that adopt these great tools that we're all here talking about, the people that get passionate about those tools at the hotels in the future also have an opportunity in order to really embrace these tools and then move, like I did and still trying to get out, into the technology industry, right? So I think that the experience that we've all gone through, us as providers, the hoteliers themselves, it's absolutely not great, but every experience is an opportunity to look and something to look back on in the future and say, my God, you know, that was something that was really different, but it was life-changing for many reasons, you know, and it changed the way that the products evolved, changed the way human interactions evolved, and provides a huge amount of opportunities for every single one of us. And I think that's how we all need to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, we are also seeing, you know, similarly, people saying, you know, normally, if this was a high season, we wouldn't be now have the bandwidth to think strategically, to think about, all right, what will put me with stronger margins, with stronger B2B relationship? How do I think about distribution 2.0, the future of distribution? But now, you know, I can be more strategic now. I have, unfortunately or fortunately, I have less day-to-day fires to put out, and I can actually invest in the technology, whether it's distribution or any other aspect. It's for the longer term to be in a better, more profitable position.
Thank you, Amit, for that. I think for the sake of time, because I know everyone's agenda is super busy, and there are a couple of questions on our panels from people. I'm just going to throw out there. We'll probably cover some of them super quickly, but there's one that I might just refer specifically. So I'm going to start. And the first one says, it's from Tulami. She's asking, why is there a need for the hotel to adopt a fully automated system? And I think that we've already discussed that there's no such thing as fully automated, right? And there's a different understandings of what fully automated would be for each hotel, because each hotel is unique and individual, right? We have a question from, again, Pulami, on how smart automation can benefit hotels. And I think, again, all of you already touched upon the fact that it can help improve processes, give better experience, right? Automation will lead to better guest service, for lack of another term. I see a question from Leah on how to ensure that your client is using the tool correctly and at its best. And I think I'm going to speak for all the people here, all the companies. They train you, and when they see an opportunity, they train you. So, and then again, it's part of the responsibility, and maybe Erik can back me up here, but these are all the people that are giving you a product and are really interested in you using the tool correctly, right? So you use these people on the call to make sure that you're using the tool correctly, right, to your best benefit. And you have them at your disposal. You have all these companies at your disposal to do that.
Alexandre, one thing just to add to that is also coming back to guest feedback. When you're implementing these technologies, ask your guests in your post-stay surveys what they think about the technology, how easy was it to use, what could they do in order to improve it, right? Because there's a huge amount of data that you can get back from that particular process as well. So you need to make sure that you're asking the guests how that process was for them and how it could be better.
I completely agree, Neil. And to that point, I see a couple more questions. Fede, I think what we can do is, because they're long, they will take time, we can send it to all the speakers today so they can give us their mind. Maybe prepare a little white paper. I'm getting my marketing hat on and distribute it, right? HS Latam will deem if it's free of charge or not. But again, the question was, right now all hotels have very little money for tech investment, right? And it's a reality. So I think what Claudia was asking is, how do you encourage your prospects or your future potential clients to pick up your services, right? And maybe that's trade secret, so I'm not going to ask you to say it here. But I think, Claudia, you're welcome to get in contact with all these amazing professionals to ask them what they are ready to propose to you, right? Again, it's time to also negotiate part of your technology. It's a good time to do that. Then Tammy was asking about some of the independent hotels are still find it difficult to transition to more automation, the loss of job, the fear in itself, right? So she was asking whether you have a training or upskilling strategy related to your product to help that stuff, right? And I think it goes back to the same thing: training, support, being next to the client so you can do that with them, right? But Fede, if you agree, I think what we can do is, first of all, thank you all for participating today. I'm filling some very big shoes for Vinny. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to thank, again, all of our sponsors, the media. I want to thank Neil at ReviewPro, Erik and Oki, Neha and RevMax, Amit and HyperGuest, Felix and myHotel, and Chris and GuestRevu. I think it was amazing. I had a pleasure. And I think we can call the session a day. Everyone is invited to contact each of these amazing individuals. We have LinkedIn today, we have email, we have WhatsApp. So take the opportunity, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Thank you
very
everyone.
much.
It was such a
Bye-bye.